presentation. So Kaiulani is a strategic forward planning efforts, regulator agency coordination, infrastructure development, community engagement, and government relations at Ward Village. From Newtown and commercial projects to multi-million-dollar renovations of resort properties and sustainability planning, she has more than 15 years of experience in real estate development. Born in Honolulu, Kaiulani attended Punahou School, received a Bachelor of Science from Cornell University, and holds a Master of Planning from the University of Southern California. She is a member to the American Institute of Certified Planners, serves on the Child and Family Service Board and the Trust for Public Land Hawaii Advisory Board. Previously, she was on the board of the PBS Hawaii and City of and County Honolulu Planning Commission. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. We're just swapping HDMI cables. Okay. Does that work?
Yes, you should.
Oh, I can just
share your
minimize
screen.
everybody. You want me to share a screen or just minimize everybody?
Oh,
Because that
yeah, everything's good.
can online see the can they see the presentation or no?
Yeah. They can. Can you guys see?
No, cannot.
We can only see it on the TV
Say
behind.
again? Nope, can't hear them now.
Oh, cannot. We cannot see it.
How do we-
Henry, are you talking?
Yes,
Oh, can you hear?
I can
Is
hear,
this-
but I cannot see.
It's on.
Oh, no.
That's weird. I turned off my volume.
Go to
Oh,
Zoom.
Rachel said she can't see the presentation.
Let me share then. I think
Okay.
that'd be better. Go big. Can't see the presentation. Okay, we'll share screen. It's disabled. Thanks. That's probably.
How do I?
Rachel, can you hear me? Okay. But
Okay. Right now.
we're just gonna share screen again. Here, wait, actually, it's on the wrong slide. It jumped. Full screen mode. Doesn't like that. Okay. Disappeared. Okay, we're sharing. Did that work?
Yeah, I see this.
But I can't hear anybody, or as long as they can hear me, I guess.
Oh, so do you want to mute and then I'll unmute?
Well, as long if I'm speaking here, as long as they can hear me. I can't see Rachel. I can't see it. Okay,
Oh, Henry says he can hear you,
okay.
but we just can't hear them, but. If
She got
you
the
mute
volume.
and I,
Can they?
Okay, how is
the
this?
audio good enough?
Can you guys hear Henry? Rachel?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the
Okay.
audio's picking up good? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm open to questions. Welcome. While I go. Maybe that'd be more useful than holding questions to the end. Is that okay? So
Yeah.
feel free to jump in. I did try, thank you for the invitation. We've been trying for a bit. So I'm glad that we could finally get scheduled. So I try to tailor the story of Ward Village. It's a long story. Ward Village has been around for over 100 years. And I'm gonna kind of open with the history of the family that established the Ward Village and what we know Ward Village to be today. And so I'll kind of maybe come to some of the sustainability characteristics of Ward Village. Partly because I'm a planner through land use planning, and then through some of the building form, you know, and some of the more metric data driven sustainability certifications that are out there, and how we strive to kind of both at a building level and at a community planning level and a site and land use planning level, kind of integrate many components to what we deem to be really special about Ward Village, which is our master plan and what that 60 acres means. So just to orient everyone, you know, a great historic map of what we know to be downtown Honolulu from Chinatown through Waikiki. And, you know, so everyone can kind of knows this area, you know, Kewalo Basin. You can see the big cutout here kind of anchoring what Ward Village is known for today. On the far left side, we have an aerial from the 1930s that shows the contiguousness really of the Ward family estate. It was initially established in the late 1880s, and, you know, really they kind of weathered World War I and some of the political destabilization that happened in Hawaii. And it's why you see such a large land tract not, you know, divided up and chopped up into smaller developable lots. You don't see the streets coming through yet. And really in the 1930s and 40s, the Ward family home was still built. It's actually where it was located is what we all know today to be where Blaisdell Center is. And for those who are really familiar with Blaisdell Center, you know, there are fish ponds, brackish ponds that are outside, and it's kind of like really weird. You're like, yeah, that's weird. You know, it's actually where the natural Hawaii Canal came up from Old Kewalo Harbor, which was a basin. And Kewalo is an old name for that shoreline area. And so that is actually an open ocean fed, partially subterranean and partially channelized. So it is brackish, but that gives you a feel of really how much the land use has adapted and changed, right, in over the last 100 years. And so Neil Blaisdell was condemned. That was the family property. Adjacent Honolulu Symphony, which we all know is where the Ward plantation estate was. And they had a coconut plantation. And you can see them kind of adapting to what became, you know, Hawaii's defining industrialization moment, moving into the 40s and 50s, which was World War II. And so because of the functioning component of the harbor, Pearl Harbor was not as well developed as we know today, you know, and Kaiulani didn't even exist. So lots of Quonset huts, lots of warehousing, lots of stores, lots of shipyards. The history of Ward Village really was in that very industrial kind of turn for Honolulu with heavy manufacturing and platesmithing. And there are sections which, you know, because all of you know Kaka'ako well, you know, on Cook and Queen and Merchant, there's these really nooks and corners of buildings that actually been around for 100 years and kind of have transitioned through what was, you know, salt pans and coconut or new groves, you know, into ultimate, you know, the need for utilization or proximity to the shoreline. And then ultimately the commercialization of what became a deep sea fishing harbor. It's now primarily migrated into recreational charter, you know, boat users, but really the fishing, you know, vessels of Hawaii's, like if you go to Nico's, you know, the old uncles, they had videos of like all that fishing vessel history. It all came out of Kewalo. It all came out of here, Kewalo Harbor. And so it was a privately held company managed by the family, Victoria Ward Limited. And they managed, you know, the matriarch, partly because Curtis Perry Ward died rather young in age, and he left Victoria Ward, who was of Ali'i Hawaiian ancestry. Her grandmother was from a Maui chief line, and she raised 7 children on her own, 7 daughters. And, you know, so it's pretty incredible. They managed to kind of run this land development company for almost 80 straight years before they sold it, and their descendants sold it to what some of you may know was General Growth Partners. And they had owned Ala Moana Shopping Center in the late 90s, as well as Ward Village. And so you kind of just see the beginning of some of the commercialization. I grew up in Ward Warehouse. Maybe some of you kind of remember it, but you know, Spaghetti Factory was there. The hula pit was there. I danced in that hula pit growing up. I'm happy that I'm getting to build a park now because it's sure better than dancing in the concrete pit. But, you know, it had a lot of nostalgia for Honolulu, and Ward Center was built. The first big IMAX theaters were built in Ward Village at Ward Center. So there were a lot of firsts that Ward Village brought in, you know, to the community, but on the entertainment side, right? On the commercial real estate side, not the residential that we all have come to know Ward Village today. Any questions? It's kind of a compacted history here of 100 years. So it's neat to kind of see what still carries through, you know, from 100 years ago, and some elements that we're able to bring back in time now. And so, you know, this is really Ward Village today. The original family holding was about 100 acres, and you can see McKinley High School. I was a part of that at one time. You can kind of see the dome of Blaisdell here, you know, the big parking garage. And so it kind of makes sense, you know, they had a working plantation. Victoria Ward's husband, Curtis, came from the South. You know, there's strong relationships, obviously, with both the agrarian colonial history of Hawaii, with, you know, the South and the Civil War, and Hawaii being the epicenter for sugar during the Civil War. And so there's a lot of Hawaii's history that's actually tied, you know, to that era. And so they managed it like a family farm, like a family plantation up until, you know, 1930s and 40s, when the city of Honolulu started to condemn portions of the property for civic center, for road widening, etc. And so, you know, I guess maybe to toggle back and forth. So it's hard, you know, to initially kind of see how are we making, you know, a master plan community, you know, more sustainable. And so because we get to approach this problem with, you know, a 60 acres, and what makes a 60 acre, you know, master plan project different than kind of like a one block off, you know, is that we get to more methodically think through some of the civil principles related to climate resiliency and stormwater and detention basin management. We can think on a like shoreline level, like how is the water that we're capturing from all this hardened runoff and impervious surface that surrounds us filtering through all the new developed park spaces and catch basins that we have, so ultimately what we're returning. And so we went through a big effort with the World Green Building Council in 2021 that kind of brought forward all of our land planning and some of those, really there's civil engineering principles at heart, but, you know, to everything from hurricane, you know, we happen to live like in the most like hazardous place ever, right? Like, so there's hurricane, there's earthquakes, there's torrential rains, there's stormwater, you know, flash flooding, we have everything, you know, and so we put forward through, this is the international equivalent, essentially, what, you know, the U.S. Green Building Council is. And they recognized us as a case study on how to really kind of overlay master plan developer planning principles that hold the individual blocks to having to implement. Right. And so, and I'll kind of speak through that kind of development, you know, pyramid, if you will, you know, and how those thoughts can get applied down to the actual specific project. So we are quite proud of this recognition, because we do think we have a unique opportunity, and then with that, obviously, a responsibility, you know, to make you know, a regional impact that way. And so, you know, on the corporate level, we have articulated, you know, our corporate sustainability in this way. And these documents are on our website too, and I can send those links out to you on how we try to approach the environmental and social and then the governance goals that we have as a company. And then, you know, materially or at the project level, the LEED certifications, and we just were able to kind of go through, it's like a 5-year process to go through with USGBC to get a building, you know, our project LEED certified. And we were able to add another residential project, Ali, to this list. And, you know, so ultimately this makes for a better indoor environment for the residents, obviously, as well as better, you know, building management systems that lower utility costs, reduce the dependency on needing, you know, climate control really, you know, in your home. And COVID has made people more cognizant, I think, of the importance of outdoor and fresh circulating air, is a trade-off. But, we've got good trade winds, and for the most part, we're actually in the subtropics because it could be way hotter, could be way more humid. But, these are things that, before we hold, the resident and, visitors who are coming to Ward Village for entertainment or other, purposes, what's their day-to-day experience like? How can we improve, from what it was, but also kind of, have that impact in a way that benefits, others that are surrounding them through, these development principles. And so I thought I'd also kind of interject, where we are in some of our residential projects. There's a lot of construction going on in Kaka'ako, especially in our area. And, it's maybe, and I have some maps to kind of like show you what we're doing, because with our residential projects, we are developing, because of the adjacencies of the site work, our 3.5 acres of community parks, of which we have 3, and we have a handful of parklets coming in online. And we're also, while, Word Warehouse lived way beyond its expected life cycle, that was actually recycled timber from another waterfront project, and it managed to go another like 45 years, which is incredible. And actually, we worked with Trees for Honolulu's Future and Reuse Hawaii on that project, and they did salvage a lot of that wood that wasn't termite ridden into other projects, which is really neat. Reuse is great. We do a lot of stuff with them. So the Park Ward Village is where the old gems, or what most people know to be where Ross and Sports Authority was, where Ohana Marketplace was. And so that super block used to be much smaller, and that's one of those land use changes that came with World War II military warehousing and harbor industrial usage. And so we're actually putting back the block that used to be there and Halikuala and some new street lanes to make it so that you can walk, right? People do not typically like to walk beyond 400 feet, 450 feet before you have to cross again. And so it's really neat, because with this residential project, we're bringing online podium housing, which is what levels 2 through 7 are called on residential tower projects that wrap the parking garages. And if you like to people watch, or if you're into more interactive, city living, podium units are in desire for those who like, more urban city environments. But it's also going to include 30,000 square feet of retail and commercial and parkside dining. And so we broke ground in October, so that's that block. The other project that we broke ground in December of last year is our 100% reserved housing project. And so, component, for sustainability and for us as a master developer and community builder is to provide what we refer to as mixed product type, mixed market. And so everything from studios to 3 bedrooms, from market pricing to reserved housing. Reserved housing is the Hawaii Community Development Authority, which is the zoning authority. So basically the role of what the city and county planning department is for everywhere else on the island, except as part of Kaka'ako. And we have, a requirement for every market unit to also provide, reserved is the technical term, but it's the state's version of affordable housing in a mixed use community. And so we do that through delivery of our other projects. And we, with Ulana, are delivering almost 700 homes. And so with Ulana, we'll have about 1,200 reserved housing homes. And I'm happy to kind of get into a segue, but that's really the social piece that's important to creating home ownership opportunities. And ultimately, the biggest investment that most people make in their life, which is equity in their home and where they live and the generational wealth that creates. And so we're really excited about Ulana. This is adjacent to UFC gym. So if you guys have seen the construction fencing in that area, And with Ulana, we're also building a 1 acre park in that area also. And so it's really going to transform, that part of Kaka'ako where like Baliaga and UFC are. We have a construction fence around another smaller block in that area where First Mind Bank used to be a Body Fix. There's a halal upstairs, and we're putting in another parklet. So it's really going to be a big change, and that's something that we recognize and why it's important. Thank you, for the invitation to share that with you. So everybody can kind of see, where we are in that inflection point of, converting warehouses and parking lots into parks and residential use, which in reality, looking back 70 years, Kaka'ako had. Kaka'ako had a lot of residences. They were actually the original kind of live, work, play model because the family would live upstairs and they had their business and sole proprietor downstairs, and it was very small town field actually. And so it's kind of neat. We have some, actually, I met some resident buyers in this project here who's had like grandparents who ran like, shops on Queen Street and stuff. And they're like, we would have never imagined that we could actually, be back. So, a transition nonetheless, and that's something that we're cognizant of with the community. But we do believe that the addition of all this open space is critical. And COVID has proven that too, especially to do density well. And we think in a way that provides the recreational requirements, to have an urban lifestyle here. And so this really kind of, I colorized what is the 60 acres, where our parks are located. Kolowalu Park is on this end over here. Moana Shopping Center is just off the map. And so there's the HCDA Kolowalu Park. It actually wraps on the backside of Queen Street as well. This Coffee Bean, and this is the Nordstrom Rack, TJ Maxx, South Shore Market, if you're familiar. And then we have the IBM building where our offices are located. And then Ward Centers here. We have another 1 acre park on the Kamakei corner where, actually we've had a bunch of different, Roger Dunn is in that corner right now. And then Waiea, and then, you're kind of moving to the Ward Entertainment Center, Whole Foods on the Malka border, and then Queen Street. Kind of making the way, kind of our center axis is our Victoria Ward Park. That's the largest, and it's bifurcated across Alwahi Street. And then this is the Park Ward Village site here. And that's the old Ohana Marketplace. Kind of carry everybody's mental map here. And then Ward Avenue, and then we're still kind of going. This is really the area that I'm talking about, like this big construction fencing all going on in here. And these projects typically run 34 months. From breaking down to move in.
For parks, I know a few months ago when we were planning our New Year's party, the other option was to have the party at a park in Ward Village. Is that like something you're planning, like to have organizations do like host things like community gathering, but with like organizations, or is it just like a regular park?
Yeah, so these are publicly accessible, privately maintained parks. And so what that means is, and I kind of use this analogy because people are familiar with Mililani, but Mililani is a master plan community. There's a master association. If you live within Mililani, you have your homeowner association, and then you also have a master, right? And so we're really the equivalent of like a Mililani in town, right? And so it's open to everyone. Everyone can use the parks, but the homeowners through their master association do pay to maintain and clean those parks. And that's just the obligation that we have signed up for, that residents do, and believe that that's an appropriate, really community give back, so that they have a park, everybody has a park, and the park can be maintained and be cleaned. And so it's nuanced in like Mililani Park or like us, we don't have like the city permitting process, right? The city and the state, and you're familiar, you host a lot of events. We do partner with community groups. We've done everything from flea markets to some street parties for special events. Typically we do have, nonprofit oriented. We don't tend to do like commercial concerts, or anything like that. But we think that's critical to the activation You know, we have, and I have some slides to give examples of who we've used, but we're not a rentable facility, right? So it's a nuance, but because you do so many events, right, it's not like the state process.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state has a bunch of rules, you know, so it's totally different. Some of our streets, so we tend to like to do things that more than one group can participate at. And so there'll be themed events if it's like around animals, or, and you've kind of seen some of that. We have a big mall-made market, and then we'll open up, you know, empty retail space like Pier 1's old location, and we'll host things like within that other groups are doing and organizing. Yeah.
You know, the butterfly event you guys
Yeah,
had,
yes.
you know,
Sunday.
Henry is the owner and he's the
Oh,
one on Zoom.
excellent.
Yeah. And also Rachel,
Hello.
That you had a long line. Did you see that?
We did. We had 2 hours of long line. So thank you for having us.
Well
I
done.
didn't see the end of the line until like we had to start forcing people to like get out the line because we're
It was
just
a really long line.
yeah, it was really, really long.
One of the
So
longest lines we've ever had. We had talked about how we could have had 2 of your butterfly.
yeah, thank you for having us. I was really shocked and pleasantly surprised that, you know, we had such a great turnout. So it's amazing.
Fantastic. No, thank you for pointing that.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was so that's a great example. So, you know, we do view ourselves as kind of like a canvas for other groups to do things, you know, and that was a spring event and there were other community vendors there. And so that's a really great example of what we are trying to foster throughout, not just at South Shore Market. Yeah.
Didn't you guys host the powwow kickoff events like back
Some time ago,
when-
yes.
Powwow?
Yeah, when Powwow first came out, like, yeah,
Yeah.
we did on our Robinson, or
Yeah.
excuse me, Halikuala on the backside. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Rachel has a question. She said, so about 13 of the 60 acres is now parks.
It'll not, no, the 8 acres includes the 3.5. To clarify, yeah.
Okay.
All in, it'll be about 12% of the 60 acres, said differently. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I actually do.
Sure.
So I do like really appreciate master planning. I think it's
Mhm.
that important, especially in these tighter areas.
Yeah.
But I also know, you know, Kamehameha Schools owns
Mhm.
a huge portion right next to you guys. Are you guys working together at all? Because, you know, I've started seeing stuff about their sustainable luxury sustainable buildings that they're coming up with now. And I know that's gonna be like neighbors to your properties.
Sure. If I could differentiate, maybe how we're similar and how we are not. So Kamehameha Schools is also a large landowner, adjacent. And their model, they have a master permit, but they are not a master plan per se. And so their approach is to develop or have others develop truly on their behalf. Individual projects that can or cannot relate necessarily to adjacent projects. And so that is very different, you know, it's a model where all of our projects interrelate to each other and are planned accordingly with each other. So there is no master association within that portion of their holdings. There is in ours. Yeah,
But you guys don't like.
not from a project standpoint. Well, we all have worked for each other. I mean, just the inside joke there. I was there for a while. They have many of, I mean, you know, and it's because we all care about what's happening in Kaka'ako. I mean, so, you know, we're just at different points in our careers and in roles, but ultimately all been working on this for a long time. So it's kind of funny. But we do not plan, the master plan permits or projects are not related at all. There is a, not unique to them, but you know, the yellow line really is kind of like a seam. And so they are one of our adjacent landowners, but they're not our only one. Yeah. And so really through the Hawaii Community Development Authority and then certain agencies within the city, those, you know, if you want to call them the seam conversations. So, you know, where the roads connect, you know, obviously we need to plan for the bike lanes, you know, and sidewalks and things like that. But
So,
Mhm.
given that it is master planned, how did you kind of collect and gather, like feedback from the community and engagement with the community as far as like how the plan is developed? And now that there's so many more residents there that weren't there before, how are you now incorporating, you know, their vision and their, you know, participation in the community?
Sure.
towards-
Sure. So the permit outreach process, which created this master plan, really started back in 2009. And we all went back, you know, all that time ago. There were a series of neighborhood board meetings, community charrettes, some with Hawaii Community Development Authority, some with not Hawaii Community Authority. We also have cultural and lineal descendants stakeholder consultation for those who are in what we refer to Malama Iwi Kapuna, or, you know, Native Hawaiian burials. And so really there was heavy consultation for that permit. And that permit was, that effort was shepherded by our predecessor company, which was General Growth Properties. Howard Hughes acquired General Growth Properties and has held that interest in delivering on that master plan. So what has happened kind of since then, our neighborhood board meetings, continued cultural, lots of community group outreach meetings like yourself. We do interview a lot of our residents and have a lot of like buyer feedback, and we have regularly scheduled what we refer to as general merchant meetings, because we are a large landlord. You know, while the residential part is a part that, you know, many know us by, but we're actually a really large landlord. And so we have a whole team dedicated to our retail and commercial and light industrial tenants, because sometimes their desires are different, right, than residential. So it's only natural. We're in a mixed use environment. Sometimes that means mixed bag, right? Sorry. So we have there's a lot of that, but ultimately we are in a stage of delivering upon the entitlements to which we already have. And so does that kind of help you? So there's this iterative loop, but the entitlements to which we have can't change too. So there are aspects that are slightly nuanced. Oh, so the master plan permit. So we went through this community outreach effort, the government regulatory permit. Yeah, that we do have to follow. And in that regard, you know, that's same for like the middle schools. They have a master plan. They represented that this would be the way that their blocks were configured. If they deviate from that, they have to go back and do it again.
You feel like there's kind of a different flavor of, you know, like what stakeholders want to see are with the
Yeah.
compared to the.
Yeah, a good example would be, you know, like some of our open space areas, if, you know, we all go back in time, there was like a lot of hardscape. Right, and so now people really want grass, you know, so we can't change, you know, we're not changing like the acreage or the location per se, but we are kind of adapting, you know, there weren't as many playgrounds contemplated, you know, initially some of the park programming. Now we have a lot of playgrounds, equipment, you know, so that's in that way, that's how it's kind of being finessed, you know, like we're not moving the parks around, you know, there's no big input from the outreach that we do that would like move a park location, for example. But where we are is like, okay, well, if we just look at the demographics, there needs to be more playground equipment, right? We need more soccer fields, you know, like, and so you can have that here. And so in that regard, it has refined itself, which is great, because it is being a little bit more timely in what the community wants.
So even though like you have some
Yeah, there's some flexibility like that. So it's, you know, I think that's where the way that HCDA has approached and what makes them uniquely different than how the city approaches, because they're very different zoning processes, is that it allows for that. And so as each project comes through, and I have a project to kind of prove an example of that and how it became iterative. So we'll keep going. Kind of mixing in, I mentioned we have lots of construction going on, but it's always nice to know where it's all going to go. So, Awahi Street, this is if you're at our current Victoria Ward Park, which is an interim park. It's going to be transformed into that lower photo. The Mackay Park is over here. And then, we're putting in, the football size field of recreation lawn. That's underway now. And then if we were to look Diamond Head, just off that corner, the Ward Entertainment Center, everybody's pretty familiar. So this is a great example of safety and sustainability. Awahi's 4 lanes, we're taking it down to 2 lanes with dedicated bike lanes in each direction. We're raising the sidewalks. Why? Because it's safer. Right. And we're putting in 8-foot planting barriers. So like you can actually not worry about somebody hitting your dog or letting a kid off or, so there's subtleties, but they're actually quite significant. We're creating catch drain now, like all these things that we didn't have before, and ultimately quieting streets, making them more pedestrian friendly, pulling people out of cars, making it so that you can bike. I mean, like we all want to bike. I just can't risk my life every day biking. But now you're in a dedicated lane, and it's not going to be the like crazy 2-way King Street lane, because that to me is like super stressful.
Yeah.
We're doing like you only need to look one way. Right, like I don't know how that's gonna work out. That in South Street really stresses me out. Kaka'ako is getting dedicated bike lanes. All the bike lanes that are coming through Ward Avenue, everything is single direction. We just think that it's safer. And we don't know where multimodal is gonna go. One of the questions we get is, oh, there's the scooter, there's the unicycle guys with the GoPro cams, and they're going really fast, and we don't know, right? But what we do know is that sidewalks are for people. You can't intermix, and if there is a dedicated bike lane, wherever that future is going to go, it's not in the lane with the car, and it's not where the runner and the mom and the dog and the stroller are, and so we really think that down the road is, a good decision, because the whole Costco selling e-bikes, I mean, everybody's e-biking. I know.
Yeah, it's a perfect neighborhood for it.
Yeah.
Flat.
Yeah, it's
To get
flat.
around, you have EVs everywhere. And then, I've seen some new developments are even saying they're gonna have their own scooters within their residential development.
Oh. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going that direction.
Mhm. So if we kind of pull ourselves, Eva, keep looking back on the right, we have Mackay Park here, Victoria Place under construction there. And then you can kind of see what that crosswalk is going to look like. This will be signalized. And it is at grade. But, again, the park areas will kind of come up. That's part of the, flood proofing that we're really cognizant of, especially in occupiable spaces, whether they're residential or commercial. So that we can manage through that storm event. So this is, so there's a big move happening here, right? Everybody remembers where Jamba Juice and Starbucks was, Wahoo's. Okay. The road used to be there. We're going back to the original road. So in the 50s, Victoria Ward Limited built over the road, popped up, commercial. It wasn't Wahoo's, obviously, but it was a prior building. And so we're actually moving the road, Malka, back to where it was. It's going to cut across Ward Avenue. It's going to go through Baliaga. Everybody remember Baliaga had that weird extension because it was over the road, right? And so we're putting back Pohukaina Street. Pohukaina Street is actually one of the older streets that comes through our part of Kaka'ako, that and Kamake. And so this is that new Ward Avenue corner. Like once we get through, that Wahoo's block, you can see it, the elevation, the planting, deep, underhang here for one of the feedback loops that we got, our collective experience with COVID is that people want the outdoors all the time, including retail and restaurants, and so that's just a preference now for customers, and so that's something that we adapted the street level design for feedback. You wouldn't typically see 10-foot overhangs like this, but now you could have your 2-top, your 4-top, and still have the sidewalk and not worry if someone's going to like run by, clip your chair, take your thing, right? Because now we can create those safeties, those distances, but then be outside. It's kind of like the return of the sidewalk sale. we kind of come into the park here, you can see Ka'ula is the building to our left. We have another 17,000 square feet of retail and commercial. This is that really pretty, very feminine white wavy building that kind of goes up. You know, that whole second floor is restaurant. So that will be open to the public. It's open now. The stairwell, you know, the grand staircase is open. We are, you know, trying to embrace the whole ride share, district parking, district drop off. And so we actually have a public porte cochere at Ka'ula. So if there's a big park event, you can just pull in, drop off whoever can't walk, you know, the longer distance, just drop them off, Uber, Lyft. We're geo-fencing everything so that the drivers don't just like stop in the middle of the road, because that's super safe. But you know, this way they come off, and then the parking garage is right there. The entertainment center parking garage is right there. And so that's part of the benefits of a master plan. Like we can think about, well, if you live here, you don't want that. And if you're going to the park thing, and you know, so we can kind of really surface some of those user conflicts and then turn them into, you know, something that everybody, you know, benefits from. More transition or transfer, you know, photos, you can kind of see, this is the current state of Ka'ula. This is the second level restaurant. So that's going to be like the harbor view, like bring back Kincaid's, compadres. I'm voting for Mexican. We'll see what we can do here. You know, but again, parkside dining, late night dining, eyes on the street help keep the streets safe. We believe in that. We do this, we think it helps the retailers, we think it helps the residents. And if you want to go for a walk at night, you can. It's well lit, people can hear you, you can hear other people. These are all subtleties to urban living and doing density well. And, you know, so we're very cognizant of, you know, making sure that these spaces are accessible and safe every hour of the day, not just, you know, during the day. So we're doing some kiosks in Mackay Park here. One of the really neat things, and you'll notice that South Shore Market was kind of a first generation. We've lived every retail trend that there is. You know, and the future is not big box, right? And so we're really, there's a mix. We saw lots of Instagram businesses come out. And one of the things we really enjoy about being a landlord is being able to support smaller concepts. And maybe they don't need brick and mortar. Maybe they just need to be in a kiosk at a park one day a week, build their following, go back online, you know. And so it really helps us diversify the retail food offerings to kind of hit everything from like your traditional cafe to the pop-up. A Saco family is a great example. You know, they just make the one-time flavor and then they're out, like that's it, you know, and then they're back online and then they'll come back out, you know. And so we like that idea. We think it's fun. And we have an ability to kind of support that smaller entrepreneur. So here we are, you know, if we were a bird, you can kind of see like what the park's going to look like. And the exciting part is it's all under construction. And so here is the Mackay Park. A couple of things happening here, you know, Oahe Street's at grade. And it's basically going to kind of berm up, and we are trying hard to put back the natural shoreline topography so that it feels like the buildings came to this place. And so we're going to have an alkaline pond. It'll berm up to about 18 feet. Department of Transportation is putting in an elevated walkway back to kind of the safety. It is a joint use bicycle path, and I have some renderings of that. Here's some of the park rendering. We have IO sculptured birds, there's playground equipment, you know, so we're really, this would be, you know, a way for us, some of the cultural consultation was, well, the IO, if you do it well, the IO will come back. And we're like, well, what if we put like fake IO? Do you think like it'll draw attention to real IO? They're like, I don't know, let's try, let's see how well you do it, you know. So we're trying hard to make it so that the IO comes. This is, you know, so this is under construction now. So if you catch the light, you'll see this both on the harbor side and on the Mocha side. This is that 18-foot berm. So basically the bridge is open 24 hours a day. It has a designated rubble strip for the bikes to slow them down. No skateboarding, sorry. And then the walking and running path. Yeah, because I'm convinced my 14-year-old would totally bomb this if it wasn't. But you can kind of see the switchback, and there's stairs if you just want to go up and down, or if you want to kind of like go, you know, the scenic route, you can. This is important and necessary because of the accident history of Almona Boulevard. And we're creating a park. We're creating a magnet of people. And so it makes sense that they then have a way to get to the water in the harbor. And you can kind of see that alignment right here. So we have a lot of construction, and this is kind of what our near-term timeline is. You know, so we got a lot of 2023, 24 on the roads, and getting the parks open up in 2024 on the Mackay side with Victoria Place. And then on the Malka side, about a year later, we'll finish off the parks. And then, you know, this is Kalai. This is another project that's bringing. So when we close the road, we're putting in, you know, a parklet here. And Ulan is here, UFC is just off. We're putting another east-west road connector here, Halikuala extension. So it falls where the rail guideline is. This is our current project, and so I can kind of speak to some of the iterative feedback. So what we call Block A, or the Launu. Launu means coconut frond in Hawaiian, and it kind of speaks to how I opened, you know, there was a new grove, many of the thousands of coconut trees really, as a production farm. And so that was our source of inspiration for this project, located on the corner of Ward Avenue and Almona Boulevard. And so here's a great example. Like, this is the old Awahi Street, and we're going to convert it into a park space, 16,000 square feet, outdoor urban plaza with seating. You can kind of see the podium housing here, and, you know, just some highlights, some commercial retail space, raising the sidewalks. Market project, 486 homes, everything from studios to 3 bedrooms. And this is just the rec deck. You know, many of you are familiar, the 7th floor, typically given the podium heights, and you can kind of see in site plan. So this is an old street. So, you know, this is something that is an addition to feedback. We know we need more outdoor space, and we have a 1-acre park here. And then this way, you know, there's a way to soften, you know, what could still be a road, you know, but we're connecting the road right here, only 150 feet away. So. And here, just to kind of what you know today and kind of what's coming on that corner, just some before and after. Going a little long, sorry, Jenny, just some more. So you can see, so we're bringing the monkey pod corridor, you know, that part of Almona is so pretty with all the big canopy trees. And so we're bringing that west, we're bringing the monkey pods further down, extending that. And, you know, and just to pause, these are big projects, they're multi-year. Employment centers, you know, 1 tower for us on the construction side. You can see that the job numbers can peak as well to actually 900 in 1 year, depending on where we are in forming the concrete. And then, you know, obviously this is a big state tax generation. You know, the state and city go from collecting taxes on a warehouse, you know, to collecting taxes on 486 homes. So this is very meaningful to, you know, our city being able to afford, you know, all of our city services. All of our projects contribute to our area DOE school impact fee. And so this project in and of itself will generate about $2 million to go to McKinley and Roosevelt. So this was a lot. You know, we do have a community newsletter. If you're not on it, you know, I'll give you my email. We do have a monthly construction newsletter. It's something that my team puts out so that everybody kind of knows where the steel plates are going to be for a little bit, or, you know, plan your trip. And we really believe in accountability. Like, we have our project managers' names on this. You know, if there's an issue, we let the community reach out to them. And we appreciate, you know, the eyes and ears of our residents and community members who drive through, and they're like, the left-hand turn lane was blocked. I'm like, I'll find out why, you know. So we take it to heart. You know, we are having to do this in an existing community. You know, we're not out in the middle of a greenfield. You know, we impact everybody's day to day, and we try to tread softly on that. And this is really an example of us doing that. This thing on the left was a fun poster thing we did with Trees for Honolulu, but instead of doing kind of like your traditional, you know, renderings, we had them we had all the winners that were at Honolulu Hale last year, and we blew up their posters. These were the award-winning posters, and put them in the park. And so we're gonna have them back, and they're all gonna be like in high school and be like, this is so uncool. I can't believe my parent forced me to do this when we open. So it'll be a good marker. And I kind of spoke to this too, you know, we're a big landlord, you know, and we're vested deeply in our small businesses and helping them, you know, survive and making it work. And so just some highlights of the significant square footage that we have under management also. And if you haven't been, these are our newest fun businesses. So I always try to do a plug for the ones that just opened in the last quarter. Happy Linen is highly addictive. If you like boba, probably shouldn't go there. You'll go there all the time. You know, and how we take to heart and, you know, having our community benefit with us. We have a partnership with Hawaii Community Foundation where at all of our development milestones, we do earmark gifts to community groups. And then for every home that we sell, we give $500 to Hawaii Community Foundation, and then we award those. And it's been great. We kind of experimented with our last 2 projects where I've been doing residential matches. And so really kind of fostering this sense of, you live here, this is your backyard, we need you to care about it. Now's the time, you know, and have them match a donation to Hawaii Community Foundation. And that's been really exciting to see new homeowners come in and kind of take that pledge and, you know, offer a donation upon their move-in.
You guys mainly only donate, like, I guess, large sums to foundations that are a part of Hawaii Community Foundation?
No.
Okay.
So Hawaii Community Foundation is serving as kind of our grant administrator. And
Okay.
so we do about 100,000, you know, kind of like your small event, you know, just direct, you know, like you're doing good work. We don't need to go to Hawaii Community Foundation, you know, like you guys are doing it, you know, on the grassroots level. And then Hawaii Community Foundation helps us with because of the residential match, you know, there's like an escrow component if somebody else gives money, and then we're matching. And so they do a lot of the administration for us. And then they help us manage those gifts. And, you know, typically those are 15,000 above.
Okay. If you guys didn't know, Hawaii Community Foundation, they basically manage like a bunch of smaller foundations inside. So that is a really good thing to know about them, because I know a lot of people always wonder why so many people just go directly to them. Is because they manage a bunch of smaller foundations. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And I wanted to give you my email. So pretty straightforward. If you want to jump on any of our newsletters, you know, I'm happy to add you. Happy to add to your inbox. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to end the meeting, and then feel free to hang out and ask Kaiulani more questions. It's just
okay.
7 p.m. So I'm just gonna end the
yes.
meeting.
Okay.
Can I have the HDMI cable?
You can.
Yeah, thank you for sharing with us.
You're
I
welcome.
always love learning more about the changes, and
You're welcome.
I do already get the newsletters, so.
Okay, yay.
If you guys want, they always have really fun events on there, you can do all free stuff. And then if you ever see construction, it's usually in there too, so you're like, oh, okay, now I know what's happening. But it really is.
Yeah, thank you. We are trying to, we have social channels too, but I think the newsletter probably is the best one stop to you, instead of like checking us. And that is something, since I started putting out, is integrating all the construction information. Because people want to know.
Yeah, the most recent was the front of Ward Village. I was like, what the heck is happening here? And then like the next day I got the email. I was like, oh, thank you.
Lauren basically lives in Ward Village because her best friends live in Ali'i. There's
Okay.
like 4
well, then you know.
people in our club that all live in Ali'i.
He's pretty awesome.
So she's always there. I like randomly see her in the lobby, and I'm like, why are you here? Yeah. She lives on the Kamehameha's land side, by the way. That's why she knows.
We have team members who live on this side as well. But yeah, it'll be good. The road projects that are happening now are going to really kind of make it one. Because right now the grid actually doesn't align.
Right.
Right, it's like the Oahe Street that dead ends and then picked
Yeah,
up
it's
and
just-
Koho kind of deaded into Baleaga, but now you know some of the why. You know, and so what's kind of neat is that we're taking the opportunity. And so, I mean, I think it's crazy to think that Haleakala, you will be able to stand on Haleakala and actually see all the way down to downtown. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to think that, you know, I mean, and then be able to walk it, you know, and it's gonna be safe. Queen Street's a real hazard. There's no sidewalks. So hopefully when Haleakala opens, I think that's gonna be the buzz. That's gonna be where people are gonna be like biking and taking it. Because we have a lot of employees that work, they, you know, they live, like by the city, you know, like 909 and, Capitol, like downtown, and it's like it's hard to get safely through certain sections of Kaka'ako. Haleakala is gonna change that.
I'm gonna close out the meeting.
Thank you, yes.
And then, so basically for our guests, in Rotary clubs, we close out the meetings with our values and we just say it together. So the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendship? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And 5, will it be eco-friendly and fun? All right, thanks, everyone. Feel free to hang out and talk more with Kaiulani.